Hey everyone, this is Thomas from Nurse Money Talk. Now, I started off with what exactly is Dosage Calc. Then I moved it along to is Dosage Calc hard? Now, I want to then bring it to this video where I'm going to talk about how you can pass, how you can be successful in Dosage Calc. But before I get started with that though, if you aren't already subscribed, I want to go ahead and invite you to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos on this channel, pretty much dealing with everything nursing student and nurse life related. And also, if you find this video helpful, I would really appreciate you hit that thumbs up because that really does help in terms of making sure more nursing students can find this video. Now that I got that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive in to how to be successful in Dosage Calc. The first part, which is making sure you understand what Dosage Calc is. And in a nutshell, Dosage Calc is doing math to calculate the exact dosage of a medication a patient needs based on what the physician ordered. And the key part of that is that it's doing math. And so the way I approach, or at least the way I approached Dosage Calc when I was in nursing school, and the way I think most nursing students should approach Dosage Calc as well, is that they should approach it as they would a math class. And I think approaching it like a math class is going to be a big deal because there is, in my opinion, some distinctions between how you would approach a math class versus how you would approach like a science class or an English class. And so let's go ahead and get started, and I think it will make more sense at the end. The first part of it is to make sure you don't miss class. Now, I know that's going to sound like, well, that's the obvious statement, but it's the obvious statement that I think sometimes students don't follow. And the reason why it's critical not to miss like a math class, so a class like Dosage Calc, is that unlike some other classes where if you miss the class, you can probably just look at PowerPoints and catch up and do whatever and memorize whatever you need to memorize. Math classes are different in the sense of like, you really need to be there to see the professor, see somebody work out the problems. Because if somebody shows you like a PDF of the diagram of everything else already worked out, it doesn't quite make as much sense, and it's kind of hard to really get a grasp of it that way than if you were there and saw them start from the problem all the way, or the question, I should say, the question, the problem, all the way, what are the steps, what each step that they took to get to the actual solution, and then to see them, and then to hear the professor actually explain how they got to each step or what they needed to do in each step. And that makes a huge difference. The second part of this is that you need to make sure to practice. Oh my goodness, practice is such a big part of any math class. It is a huge part of it, making sure that you're getting a lot of repetition over and over and over and over again, to the point where like, and some people might disagree with me on this, but this has always been part of my rationale with emphasizing so much practice in math problems, is that once you've done so many problems, it gets to the point where like when you get a problem, like you kind of, it's almost like muscle memory. You already know what you need to do. Like, okay, this is A needs to go over here, B needs to go over here, this is C needs to go over here. Even to the point where like, yeah, if you don't understand why you're doing what you're doing, you don't understand why this step needs to be done like this, once you've done enough of it, you just kind of know this is what I need to do to get to the answer. And I'm not here saying that that's where you need to be, because honestly, the long-term goal is to obviously for you to understand how the actual steps, to understand in detail the actual steps to get the answer. But honestly, let's just be realistic at what it is. You want to pass the test. And when it comes to exams, when it comes to tests, the goal is you're given a problem to get to the right answer. And whether or not you understand how or why you got to the right answer, for math problems, I mean, you just need to get to the right answer. Now, once again, the goal is to long-term understand. But as far as getting to the right answer, practice is what's going to get you there. The next one is looking at some study guides. There's a lot of study guides out there. I'll put a link to one that you should consider as well. But there's a lot of study guides out there. And as far as some of the paid options that I'm going to give you, like this would be one of the cheaper options. Study guides are good in the sense of like they're cheaper than some of the other options I'm going to give you. They allow you to get some more repetition, some more practice. And then on top of that, good study guides will also, when they give you the answer, they'll like break it down and show you step by step on how they got to the right answer. And so as far as repetition goes, study guides are great for that. Another one would be looking at online resources as well. So one in particular you can go to is NurseMoneyTalk.com/student academy. And then it's an online platform. It's a platform that's more or less gives you a lot of resource for pretty much every topic in nursing school that you're gonna deal with. But they do have some section in there for Dosage Calc. I think actually they have a title under like med math or something like that. And so that can be a great resource as well. It is a little bit more expensive than looking at some study guides potentially. But once again, it's a great resource that will get you help in Dosage Calc and as well get you some help in any other topics that you're going to be dealing with in nursing school. But before I keep moving forward, I think it's important to emphasize that what you'll see right here is that a lot of the options I'm giving you, it's to push and emphasize that making sure that you understand what you're doing, and most importantly, making sure that you practice. And then that's the key in terms of every resource that I'm gonna give you. So number 5 is you should consider getting a tutor. Now, as far as tutors are concerned, this is gonna be probably the more expensive route. Since prices of tutors they're typically charging you per hour, and so that can definitely get a little bit more expensive if you are a nursing student on a budget. But if you are the type of person, and you already know, there's no shame in this. You just need to be honest with yourself. If you're the type of person who tends to struggle in math, so let's say when you took the like the college algebra or the statistics, that you struggled through that class, or you had to hire a tutor to be able to pass that class. And this might be one where you just know right out of the gate that, okay, math is not my strong suit. I'm going to need a little bit of extra help, maybe a little bit of like more hand holding to make sure that this class, that I don't lose a handle on this class or fall behind. Then just be honest with yourself and then start looking towards that. You can go check out NurseMoneyTalk.com/tutor. You can then get a list of nursing school tutors. You can look at reviews and and make schedule appointments in the whole 9 yards. If you want to meet in person, hybrid or online only, there's a lot of options there. So make sure to check that out. That's nursemoneytalk.com/tutor. Number 7, and this is for if you know that you do need one-to-one help, but you don't think you have the financial means or the financial resources to start looking at going the tutor route. Look at going to your instructor's office hours. The you know this is when it comes to math, I kind of struggle a little bit with this recommendation for a couple of reasons. One, because so many students tend to struggle with math, and professors' office hours are kind of limited at that. At times you can be more or less fighting with other students, figuratively speaking, with other students in terms of making sure that you get the one-to-one attention that you need, when it comes to the professor's office hours. So this is a good option if you have if you're on a budget, then this might be the only option. But let's say money's not really that big of a deal, but you're deciding between going with a tutor or going with an instructor's office hours. If you have maybe one or two question or so very specific question, definitely office hours is gonna be your best bet. But if it's not just 1 to 2 questions, if it's just I need to make this calculation and I just don't even know where to begin, then I think, if possible, looking at the tutor route might be your best bet. Number 6 is looking at forming a study group. In a lot of ways, I have a love-hate relationship with study groups. On one hand, I think they can kind of be distractions if people aren't, if students aren't careful, especially with who you're picking to be in your study group. But on the other hand, they can be excellent resources for just learning materials with with other students who maybe you struggle in this concept A, but you're good in concept B. But this student, their issues are reverse than yours. But then you could be in a situation where, okay, well, I'll help you with concept A if you help me with concept B, or vice versa. And those can be really great for learning, because one of the things you'll see when it comes to being in a study group is that, and this is where I think study groups shine, is that depending on what you have going on, you could then be in a role of a teacher, right? Kind of like mini topics, I'm doing really well in this. Let me explain to you how I got the correct answer. And so when you start trying to teach other students how you got the answer, something about that, it forces you to make sure you really know, you start reinforcing how you got the answer, and that's really great, because they say that you start reinforcing the stuff that you know. Something that I want to add to this, based on my personal experiences with groups, is that I've realized that some of the best grades I got in nursing school were on the topics where I was in study groups, and I was having to kind of teach other people on, okay, this is how I got the answer. And so when you take on that role when I took on that role of the teacher, it really helped me reinforce and make sure that I understood that material. Now, obviously, there's a balance to this. as well. That's why when it comes to study groups, you really do need to be mindful of the groups that you're getting into. The last one I kind of want to mention is really just looking at some online like resources as well. So I mentioned about the Student Academy, nursemoneytalk.com/student academy that you can check out. But these are specifically looking at online free resources. So this would be like your YouTubes of the world, and then there's some other like kind of like random free resources that if you just Google that you'll see on there as well. Even checking out like flashcard sites like Quizlet or something like that can be really great. Now, the one caveat I would throw in when it comes to these free online resources is to make sure you look at them with like a discerning eye, because as the saying goes, you get what you pay for, and you're not paying for these resources specifically that I'm talking about, or at least directly. And so when it comes to like vetting for is the answer correct or not correct or whatever, it can kind of be up in the air, because I have come across information on whether it be YouTube, Quizlet, and it could be for any number of reasons. It could just be, misspoke, a mistake. It could just be that, that things just, change. Like it's an older video or an older resource or whatever the case is. Like I'm not necessarily saying that people are being necessarily malicious or anything like that. It's just that when you're looking at resources that you pay for, there tends to be more of, like maybe like a company, a business, or an incentive behind to keep that information up to date and to make sure that it's as accurate as possible. So, and so I'm not trying to scare you away from any of those resources, because honestly, I wish YouTube was more of a thing when I went through nursing school, because my goodness, the wealth of resource out there is impressive. But like anything else, you definitely have to be mindful of that. Now, I want to hear from you. Like, what other videos would you like to see me make when it comes to Dosage Calc? Is there any like specific questions or anything of that nature that you would like to see? Maybe like specific examples. I mean, I don't know. Like if there's anything like it's specific when it comes to Dosage Calc, like let me know what you would like to see in the comment sections below. If there's any other questions, by all means, go ahead and put in the comment sections below as well. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will catch you very soon in that next video.